Picture this: a creature so powerful it bends the heavens to its will, summoning storms with a flick of its tail, and painting the sky with rainbows when pleased. This isn't just any myth. This is the celestial dragon, ancient China's divine architect of rain, wind, and cosmic balance. These weren't mere monsters. They were celestial bureaucrats, governing the natural world with scales that shimmered like constellations and tempers as unpredictable as monsoons. For thousands of years, emperors bowed to their authority, farmers prayed to their mercy, and artists immortalized their grace. But behind the silk paintings and temple carvings lie secrets: 25 legendary tales of dragon magic, treachery, and even love. Like the Dragon King who waged underwater wars over rain clouds, or the humble Carp that leapt into divinity by sheer grit, some dragons carved rivers with their claws. Others whispered prophecies to dynasties on the brink of collapse. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why these creatures weren't just myths. They were the heartbeat of a civilization, teaching lessons about power, survival, and the delicate dance between humanity and the heavens. So let's unravel these legends one scale at a time. Trust me, by the fifth tale, you'll never see a storm cloud the same way again. Now let's turn our gaze eastward, where the first of these celestial beings emerges from the dawn mist: the Azure Dragon, known as Yinglong. More than just a guardian, this dragon embodies the very essence of spring's rebirth. Its scales the color of new leaves unfurling after winter's grip. Yinglong isn't merely a mythical creature. It's one of the four symbols, the celestial pillars holding up the corners of the cosmos. Alongside the white tiger of the west, the vermilion bird of the south, and the black tortoise of the north, Yinglong presides over the east, commanding the season of renewal and the element of wood. Imagine standing in an ancient Chinese courtyard as the first spring rains begin to fall. Farmers would whisper prayers to Yinglong, for this dragon's breath was said to awaken the earth, coaxing seeds from their slumber. But the Azure Dragon's power wasn't just agricultural. Emperors, those mortal rulers desperate to prove their divine right, draped their palaces in Yinglong's imagery. Silk robes embroidered with its sinuous form, jade scepters shaped like its coiled body. These weren't just decorations. They were political statements, a way to say, heaven itself favors my rule. Even the architecture bowed to Yinglong's influence. Temples and tombs aligned with the east, their gates opening toward the dragon's domain to invite its blessings. Yet Yinglong's story holds a paradox. While it symbolizes growth and harmony, it's also a creature of fierce sovereignty. Legends speak of it unleashing tempests when disrespected, reminding mortals that renewal often comes through upheaval. The wood element it governs isn't just about tender shoots. It's about the unyielding strength of a 1,000-year-old cedar, roots deep enough to split stone. This duality made Yinglong both a comfort and a warning, a reminder that nature, like dragons, cannot be controlled, only revered. And so, as we trace the Azure Dragon's legacy from peasant prayers to Imperial regalia, one truth becomes clear. Yinglong wasn't just a myth. It was the heartbeat of a culture that saw the divine in every spring blossom and every storm cloud, teaching us that even the mightiest rulers are but fleeting guests in a world shaped by celestial forces far beyond their grasp. Now we plunge beneath the waves to meet a dragon whose name once struck fear into fishermen and emperors alike: Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the East Sea. Picture an underwater realm of coral towers and rippling pearls, where this regal serpent holds court in a palace carved from moonlit crystal. But don't let the shimmering beauty fool you. Ao Guang is no passive deity. He commands the tides, unleashes typhoons, and controls the most precious resource in ancient China: rain. Stories of Ao Guang's temper are etched into countless legends. Take his infamous feud with the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. When the rebellious Simian demanded a weapon worthy of his strength, Ao Guang reluctantly offered the magical Rui Jingu Bang, a staff that could change size at will. But once Sun Wukong took it, he wreaked havoc across the ocean, leaving the Dragon King fuming in his ravaged palace. This tale isn't just about divine squabbles. It's a reminder that even celestial dragons must bow to forces greater than themselves, whether it's a trickster monkey or the whims of fate. Yet Ao Guang's relationship with humans is even more complex. To coastal villages, he was both savior and scourge. When pleased, he filled irrigation ditches and ensured bountiful harvests. But when offended, say, by a fisherman's careless net snagging a scale, he'd withhold rain for months, leaving fields to crack like broken pottery. To appease him, communities performed elaborate dragon dances, tossing offerings of jade and rice into the waves. Some desperate villages even staged mock trials, condemning effigies of drought demons to the flames, hoping Ao Guang would be satisfied by the spectacle. What makes Ao Guang fascinating is his bureaucracy. Unlike solitary Western dragons, he presides over a watery court complete with shrimp soldiers, crab generals, and a clam secretary who records every human transgression. This mirrors Imperial China's own rigid hierarchies, showing how people imagined even the divine operated by familiar rules. Modern audiences might chuckle at the idea of a dragon filing paperwork, but it reveals a deeper truth. Myths often reflect the societies that birthed them. So the next time you see storm clouds gathering, remember Ao Guang. His legends teach us that nature's power is neither good nor evil, but a force to be respected, negotiated with, and when necessary, outwitted by the cleverest among us. Now let's turn our gaze to an enigmatic treasure clutched in the claws of countless dragon depictions, the Flaming Pearl. This radiant orb isn't just a decorative accessory. It pulses with the very essence of cosmic energy, embodying wisdom, enlightenment, and the elusive secret of immortality. Imagine a miniature sun, its fiery swirls containing the condensed power of the heavens, forever just out of human reach yet irresistible to those who dare to dream. The pearl's symbolism is as layered as the scales of the dragons who guard it. In Taoist tradition, it represents the ultimate spiritual attainment, the fusion of yin and yang, the balance that sustains the universe. For emperors, it was a divine mandate, proof they ruled with heaven's blessing. But peasants told darker tales. They whispered that the pearl was a dragon's very life force, and to steal it was to gamble with forces beyond mortal comprehension. One such cautionary tale comes from the misty mountains of Sichuan. A woodcutter named Lai, desperate to cure his ailing wife, climbed to a forbidden cave where a sleeping dragon coiled around a glowing pearl. Sneaking past its flickering whiskers, he snatched the treasure only to find his wife healed but his own reflection aging rapidly in the pearl's surface. By dawn, he'd withered into dust while his wife, cradling the now dull orb, realized the price of stolen miracles. The lesson: divine gifts demand sacred respect. Yet not all pearl seekers met grim ends. The legend of the scholar Zhang tells of a different fate. Spotting a pearl lodged in a riverbed, he dove repeatedly to retrieve it, each time thwarted by the current. Exhausted, he collapsed on the bank only for the pearl to float into his hand as the river dragon, moved by his perseverance, granted him its wisdom. Zhang became a revered sage, his writings infused with dragon insight. Here, the pearl rewards humility over greed, a theme echoing through Confucian ideals. Artists amplified the pearl's mystique. Ming Dynasty paintings showed dragons chasing it across storm clouds, symbolizing humanity's eternal pursuit of knowledge. On temple roof tiles, twin dragons flanking a pearl depict cosmic harmony. Even modern astronomers note how the pearl's swirling flames resemble Hubble images of nebulas, proof that some symbols transcend time. So why does this motif endure? Because the dragon's pearl is more than myth. It's a mirror reflecting our deepest yearnings for understanding, for transcendence, for a touch of the divine. And like all celestial gifts, it demands we ask not just how to take, but whether we're worthy to receive. Moving from the mystical allure of the dragon's pearl, we now encounter a celestial being whose very existence defies expectations: Yinglong, the winged rain dragon. Unlike the serpentine forms of its kin, Yinglong boasts something extraordinary: mighty feathered wings, a rarity among Chinese dragons. This ancient deity is no mere symbol. It's a savior, a force of salvation summoned in times of desperation. Yinglong's most legendary feat unfolded during the reign of the Yellow Emperor, the mythical ruler credited with uniting China's warring tribes. As the land withered under an unrelenting drought, crops failed and rivers ran dry, the emperor, desperate to avert famine, called upon Yinglong. With a thunderous beat of its wings, the dragon soared into the heavens, piercing the parched sky. Rain cascaded from its feathers, reviving the earth and securing the emperor's victory against rival tribes. This act cemented Yinglong's reputation as a divine ally, but also marked its tragic departure. Exhausted by the effort, the dragon could never return to the heavens. Instead, it settled on earth, its wings too heavy to lift it skyward again. Here lies the paradox of Yinglong. Despite its heroism, temples dedicated to this dragon are scarce. Why? Ancient texts hint at taboos. Unlike other dragons, Yinglong's form, a hybrid of serpent and bird, challenged traditional cosmology. Its wings, while majestic, symbolized a disruption of boundaries between earth and sky. Some scholars suggest that worshipping Yinglong risked invoking uncontrolled storms, as its power was too vast to be channeled safely. Others point to its association with the Yellow Emperor's militarized rule. As later dynasties sought to distance themselves from his legacy, Yinglong's cult faded into obscurity. Yet glimpses of its influence endure. Farmers in drought-stricken regions once buried carved jade Yinglong figurines, hoping to channel its rain-bringing magic. Art from the Han Dynasty depicts it with furrowed brows, as if burdened by its earthly exile. Even today, its name surfaces in folktales as a cautionary figure, a reminder that divine intervention often comes at a cost. Yinglong's legacy is a tapestry of gratitude and fear. It reshaped landscapes, saved civilizations, and paid the price. And while it may not grace modern altars, its story whispers through every monsoon, a testament to the fragile balance between humanity's needs and the celestial forces we dare to summon. Now, let's unravel another thread in this celestial tapestry: the intertwined dragon tales of Fuxi and Nüwa, the divine siblings who molded humanity from clay. Their myth binds dragons not just to weather or power, but to the very origins of life itself. Shifting our gaze from the solitary heroism of Yinglong, we now step into the realm of divine creation itself, where dragons are not just forces of nature but the very architects of humanity. Meet Fuxi and Nüwa, the celestial siblings whose intertwined dragon tales bind them to the origins of life and the cosmos. These deities are no ordinary gods. They are half-human, half-dragon beings, embodying the sacred union of heaven and earth. Their myths paint dragons not as distant rulers of storms, but as intimate shapers of human destiny. According to ancient texts, Fuxi and Nüwa emerged from the primordial chaos, their serpentine tails coiled together in a symbol of unity and balance. Fuxi, often depicted holding a carpenter's square, brought order to the world by inventing writing, fishing nets, and even marriage rituals. Nüwa, wielding a compass, shaped humanity itself. Legend says she molded the first humans from yellow clay, breathing life into them one by one. But here's where their dragon heritage takes center stage. Their intertwined tales represent the cosmic dance of yin and yang, the harmony of opposites that sustains all creation. Their most dramatic tale, however, revolves not just with creation but with repair. When the pillars of heaven cracked and the sky tilted, unleashing catastrophic floods and fires, Nüwa took action. She melted stones of 5 sacred colors to patch the heavens, severed the legs of a giant turtle to steady the 4 corners of the earth, and even tamed a rampaging black dragon to restore balance. This act cemented her role as a divine fixer, a celestial engineer who wielded dragon-like power to mend the fabric of reality. Fuxi, meanwhile, is said to have taught humanity how to survive these disasters, turning chaos into cultural progress. What's fascinating is how their dual nature, part dragon, part human, reflects ancient China's worldview. Unlike Western myths that often pit dragons against humanity, Fuxi and Nüwa blur the line between the two. Their dragon tales aren't just decorative, they're a reminder that humans carry a spark of the divine, a connection to the raw, creative power of the cosmos. Even today, their imagery appears in weddings and art as symbols of fertility and harmony. Yet their legacy isn't without shadows. Some regional variations hint at darker twist tales where their initial creations were flawed, resulting in monsters or plagues before they perfected humanity. Others suggest their intertwined tales symbolize not just unity, but the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth. After all, even the creators weren't infallible. Fuxi and Nüwa's stories remind us that dragons in Chinese mythology aren't just weather gods or treasure hoarders. They're woven into the very DNA of human existence, shaping our beginnings and standing guard when the world unravels. As we move forward, prepare to encounter dragons of a far more territorial nature, the 9-dragon wall and the Imperial dragons, where myth and political power collide in dazzling spectacle. Moving from the cosmic creation myths of Fuxi and Nüwa, we arrive at a marvel of human craftsmanship steeped in dragon symbolism, the 9-dragon wall. This breathtaking glazed tile masterpiece, standing proudly in Beijing's Forbidden City, isn't just decorative. It's a bold statement of imperial power woven with layers of hidden meaning. The wall features 9 coiling dragons, each meticulously crafted with vibrant colors and dynamic poses. But why 9? In Chinese cosmology, 9 is the ultimate Yong number, representing the emperor's supremacy. These dragons aren't just random, they're arranged with 5 centrally, symbolizing the 5 elements, while 4 flank the sides, echoing the 4 symbols like the Azure Dragon we've discussed. Look closer and you'll spot a clever illusion. The central dragon, though positioned higher, is actually the same size as the others. This subtle trick reinforced the emperor's authority, appearing dominant without breaking cosmic harmony. Yet the wall hides a playful secret. One tile near the base differs slightly in color, a deliberate flaw inserted by artisans. Legend says perfection would anger the gods, so this humble imperfection honored their humility. It's a reminder that even dragons, creatures of divine power, bow to universal balance. Now, contrast this architectural wonder with the living mythos of imperial dragons. Emperors didn't just admire dragon imagery, they claimed direct descent from them. The Yellow Emperor, mythic founder of Chinese civilization, was said to ascend to heaven on a dragon's back. Later rulers adopted this motif, wearing dragon-embroidered robes and calling themselves true dragon sons. This wasn't mere vanity, it was political theater. By tying their bloodline to celestial dragons, emperors framed their rule as divinely ordained. Take the Ming dynasty's Yongle Emperor, who moved the capital to Beijing beneath a dragon-adorned palace. Or the Qing dynasty's Kangxi Emperor, who displayed dragon symbols so prominently that European visitors reported seeing the dragon throne. These rulers understood something profound. In a land where dragons controlled rain and harvests, linking oneself to them wasn't just about prestige, it was about survival. A drought could spark rebellion, but if people believed their emperor shared blood with the rain-bringing dragons, that was unshakable legitimacy. But this dragon-claiming game had risks. When the Qing dynasty fell in 1912, rumors swirled that the last emperor, Puyi, had lost the mandate of heaven because dragons abandoned him. From 9 dragon walls to throne rooms, these legends reveal a truth. In China, dragons weren't just myths. They were the ultimate political currency, shaping empires and toppling dynasties with their celestial whims. Next, we'll witness a far more democratic dragon tale, one where perseverance, not birthright, unlocks draconic transformation. the legend of the Carp's leap to dragonhood awaits, a story that gave hope to commoners and scholars alike. Now let's dive into a legend that turned struggle into hope, the tale of the Carp's leap to dragonhood. Unlike the emperors who claimed dragon lineage by birth, this story celebrates sheer determination, proving that even the humblest creature could ascend to greatness. At the heart of it lies the Longmen Waterfall, a thunderous cascade in Henan province where nature carved a gateway to transformation. According to legend, any carp brave enough to leap over this waterfall would shed its scales and emerge as a mighty dragon. But this wasn't just a physical feat, it was a trial of spirit. The current fought against them, the rocks bruised their bodies, and countless fish failed, battered back into the river. Yet those who persisted, who dared to try again and again, were rewarded with celestial rebirth. This myth resonated deeply in a society where upward mobility often seemed impossible. The connection to China's imperial exam system is unmistakable. For over 1,000 years, these exams were the only path for commoners to rise into the scholar official class. Like the Carp, students endured grueling preparation, memorizing classics, writing poetry, and facing fierce competition. The exams were their Longmen Waterfall, and passing them was akin to becoming a dragon. Successful candidates earned the title Jinshi, often depicted in art as a carp transforming mid-leap. The message was clear: perseverance could rewrite destiny. But the legend's layers go deeper. The waterfall's name, Longmen, literally means Dragon's Gate, symbolizing a threshold between mundanity and transcendence. Folk artists loved this imagery, painting carps swimming upstream or hanging scrolls of dragons emerging from waves, visual metaphors for societal climbing. Even today, parents gift children carp-shaped lanterns or kites during festivals, whispering, "Leap like the carp, aspire to the dragon." Interestingly, the myth also carried a warning. Not all who transformed retained their humility. Some tales speak of newly minted dragons growing arrogant, hoarding rain or causing floods, a caution against forgetting one's roots. This duality mirrored the Imperial exam's reality. While they offered mobility, success could corrupt, turning scholars into oppressors. The Carp's leap endures as a cultural touchstone. Modern entrepreneurs reference it when discussing startup struggles, and athletes invoke it before competitions. It's a reminder that dragons aren't just born, they're made through grit. And perhaps that's why this legend outlasted dynasties. It wasn't about privilege, but the universal power of tenacity. Up next, we'll meet a dragon whose very body shaped the cosmos, Zhulong, the torch dragon, whose blinking eyes dictated day and night. Stay with us as we unravel this ancient celestial mystery. Let's turn our gaze now to a dragon whose very existence shaped the rhythm of time itself, Zhulong, the torch dragon. Far from the watery realms of the dragon kings or the transcendent leaps of the carp, Zhulong dwelled in the uncharted darkness beyond the world's edge, a primordial force woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Ancient texts like the Classic of Mountains and Seas describe Zhulong as a being of staggering scale, his body stretching thousands of miles, with a face resembling a human and a serpentine form glowing like burning embers. But it was his eyes that held the universe in balance. With each blink, day turned to night and back again. No sunrise or sunset existed beyond his will. Zhulong was the cycle of light and darkness. This wasn't merely poetic imagery. It reflected early Chinese attempts to explain celestial mechanics before the science of astronomy took root. What makes Zhulong extraordinary is his dual nature. Unlike later solar deities associated with warmth and life, Zhulong wasn't benevolent or malevolent. He was elemental, indifferent as time itself, yet his presence was vital. Some scholars argue he symbolized the eternal flux of yin and yang, his blinking eyes mirroring the interplay of opposing forces. Others suggest he was a remnant of pre-dynastic shamanistic beliefs, where dragons weren't just creatures but manifestations of natural laws. Parallels emerge in global myth. the Egyptian sun god Ra sailed his bark through the underworld each night, reborn at dawn, a cycle echoing Zhulong's rhythmic blinks. Similarly, Norse legends speak of Skurll and Hati, wolves eternally chasing the sun and moon to bring about Ragnarök. But Zhulong stands apart. He isn't a pursuer or a charioteer. He's the source, his body forming the boundaries of the known world. Artistically, Zhulong's influence persists in depictions of dragons coiled in circular forms, their tails meeting their mouths, a motif representing eternity. Modern fantasy literature often borrows this concept, portraying dragons as keepers of time or reality's fabric. Yet few capture Zhulong's eerie grandeur, his indifference to humanity's existence. Intriguingly, Zhulong's myth faded as astronomical knowledge advanced. Later dynasties replaced him with the Jade Emperor's bureaucracy or the compassionate bodhisattvas. But his legacy lingers in phrases like the dragon's time, still used poetically for Twilight's fleeting moments. Up next, we encounter a darker side of dragon lore, the drought-causing dragons whose wrath brought famine and desperation. How did communities appease these fearsome beings? The answers lie in rituals as dramatic as the dragons themselves. Now we venture into a realm where celestial power turns perilous, the drought-causing dragons, beings who wielded the skies as weapons. Unlike Zhulong's indifferent cosmos or the Dragon King's negotiated reigns, these dragons were capricious forces of punishment, their wrath measured in cracked earth and withered crops. Ancient records speak of villages haunted by years without rain, where whispers blamed dragons angered by human arrogance. One tale from the Han Dynasty tells of a magistrate who cut down a sacred grove, unknowingly severing the tail of a dormant earth dragon. The creature ascended in fury, coiling around the clouds to choke off the rains until the land became a wasteland. Desperate farmers turned to shamans who divined the offense and orchestrated a ritual, offerings of jade and silk buried at the grove's remnants, accompanied by the haunting music of bone flutes. On the third day, the skies finally wept, but the lesson lingered in local taboos against disturbing dragon-haunted lands. The most chilling accounts describe bone droughts, where dragons deliberately withered rivers to claim human remains. Folklorists speculate this tied to beliefs that dragons coveted the vitality in bones, consuming them to prolong their own immortality. Villagers would scour dried riverbeds for relics called dragon bones, often fossilized dinosaur remains, to grind into medicine or burn in cleansing fires. A Ming-era manual details a grisly counter-ritual, mixing powdered bone with salt and iron filings, then scattering it at crossroads to blind the dragon's hunger. Yet not all appeasement was grim. The rain dance, or Wulong, transformed dread into communal resilience. Dancers wore serpentine masks dyed with indigo, their movements mimicking coiling dragons while priests chanted celestial petitions. In Shaanxi province, these dances incorporated fire-blazing hoops leapt through to symbolize the dragon's cyclical return. Anthropologists note how these rituals doubled as social cohesion, uniting villages against shared despair. Modern science frames droughts as climatic shifts, but the old fears echo strangely. During China's 1928 famine, newspapers reported sightings of sand dragons in dust storms, a resurgence of myth to explain incomprehensible suffering. Today, temple plaques still beg dragon kindness with verses like, "Turn your pearls light to our fields and we will remember." A shift comes next as we explore how dragons defied expectations not as destroyers but as bestowers of miraculous gifts. What treasures did they share and at what cost? But not all dragons brought devastation. Some wove their destinies with humanity in ways both tender and treacherous, through love that crossed the boundaries of species. Now we step into tales of passion and peril, where dragons took human brides and their hybrid offspring carried the weight of two worlds. One of the most beloved stories is that of Liu Yi, a scholar who stumbled upon a weeping shepherdess by a misty lake. When he offered his cloak, she revealed her true form, a dragon princess exiled for defying her father, the Dragon King of Dongting Lake. Moved by her plight, Liu Yi carried her plea for mercy to the underwater palace, braving storms and serpentine guards. The Dragon King, impressed by his courage, not only pardoned his daughter but offered her hand in marriage. Yet here's the twist: their union came with conditions. The princess could only visit Liu Yi under the full moon, her dragon nature hidden beneath human skin. Their half-dragon son inherited her piercing amber eyes and an uncanny ability to summon summer rain's gifts that made him revered as a local rainmaker, but also marked him as an outsider. Such unions were rarely simple blessings. In Fujian province, folklore warns of brides who shed their scales on wedding nights, their human husbands discovering too late the truth. One account tells of a fisherman who burned his wife's discarded scales, thinking them cursed, only to watch her wither into mist at dawn, her dragon essence destroyed. Yet other legends celebrate hybrid children as living bridges between realms. The Ban clan of Sichuan claimed descent from a dragon mother, their bloodline carrying her immunity to drowning. For generations, they served as river stewards, negotiating with flood dragons to spare their villages. The taboos ran deep. Many cultures forbade speaking of these mixed ancestries openly, fearing the dragon's wrath or human prejudice. A Ming-era law even barred half-dragon offspring from imperial exams, their unstable nature deemed unfit for bureaucracy, but the blessings could be profound. In Guangxi, a girl born with iridescent patches on her skin was said to heal droughts by weeping into wells, her tears calling forth clouds. What's striking is how these stories reflect societal tensions between fear of the unknown and yearning for connection, between rigid tradition and the transformative power of love. Even today, rural weddings in Zhejiang include a symbolic scale-checking ritual where brides toss a handful of rice into a pond. If fish gather instantly, it's a sign of dragon favor, a whispered nod to ancient alliances. As we'll soon discover, dragons didn't just intertwine with human lives through kinship. Some bestowed treasures that reshaped civilizations, gifts wrapped in riddles and risks. But dragons weren't just intertwined with human lives through love sometimes. Their legends were born from sacrifice. Now we sail into one of China's most enduring traditions, where poetry, politics, and dragon mythology collide, the Dragon Boat Festival. At its heart lies the tragic tale of Yuan, a poet and minister from the Warring States period. When his kingdom of Chu fell to corruption and betrayal, Yuan waded into the Miluo River holding a stone, choosing death over dishonor. Here's where the dragons enter. Villagers raced their boats to save him, beating drums and splashing oars, not just to reach him in time, but to scare away river dragons drawn by his despair. They threw zongzi, sticky rice wrapped in bamboo leaves, into the water. Some say this was to distract the dragons from Yuan's body. Others insist the rice was meant to nourish his spirit, ensuring he'd never hunger in the afterlife. But let's untangle the myths. While many believe the drumming and boat shapes were designed to repel dragons, older texts suggest a different twist. The boats themselves were carved to resemble dragons, not to frighten them, but to honor them as guardians of the waters. The drumbeats, they mimicked thunder, calling dragon kings to protect Yuan's soul on its journey. As for the zongzi, the truth lies between the tails. The rice might have kept dragons at bay, but its triangular shape mirrored sacred dragon scales, a way to pay tribute to the very beings they feared. This duality reflects deeper cultural layers. The festival, held on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month, aligns with the ancient belief that this was when dragons were most active, their energy peaking with the summer solstice. By racing dragon boats, communities didn't just memorialize Yuan, they harnessed celestial dragon power to cleanse misfortune and ensure abundant harvests. Even the zongzi's bamboo leaves have significance. They echo the dragon's connection to growth and resilience. As bamboo bends but never breaks, modern celebrations still carry these echoes. In Zhejiang, elders whisper that winning a boat race ensures a dragon's favor for the year. Meanwhile, in Taiwan, children wear sachets of aromatic herbs, another nod to warding off draconic illnesses once blamed for summer plagues. Yet perhaps the most poignant legacy is how Guan's story endures. His poem Lisao, filled with dragon-drawn chariots and celestial journeys, immortalized his belief that even in despair one could rise, like a dragon ascending through storm clouds. What began as an act of grief transformed into a vibrant tradition, proving that in Chinese mythology, even death could birth new bonds between humans and the divine. And speaking of bonds, our next legend reveals how dragons didn't just inspire rituals, they waged full-scale weather wars with kingdoms caught in the crossfire. Now, let's delve into a spectacle of celestial drama where dragon kings turn the skies into their battleground. Imagine the 4 dragon kings of Chinese mythology, each ruling a cardinal direction and its seas, locked in fiery disputes over territory and influence. These weren't mere squabbles. When these titans clashed, humanity paid the price. Storms raged, rivers flooded, or worse, droughts scorched the land for years. Take the East Sea's Ao Guang, the most famed of the 4. His rivalry with the South Sea's dragon king Ao Qin wasn't just about pride. Their feud over fishing territories once escalated into a typhoon that swallowed entire coastal villages. Fishermen's nets came up empty and temples burned incense day and night pleading for mercy. But here's the twist, these conflicts weren't just destruction. They were power plays. The Dragon Kings knew humans relied on their whims, so they leveraged chaos to demand worship. Villages built grander temples, offered richer sacrifices, anything to sway the dragon's favor. One legend from Fujian tells of a decade-long drought when Ao Guang and the West Sea's Ao Run withheld rain, each waiting for the other to blink first. Desperate farmers staged a daring ritual. They paraded dragon effigies through dusty fields while shamans tried the kings in mock courts, accusing them of neglect. It worked. The spectacle humiliated the dragons into reconciliation, and rains returned. This wasn't just folklore. It reflected a profound truth. Communities believed they could negotiate with nature's gods through spectacle and wit. Temples became diplomatic hubs. At the Dragon King Temple in Shaanxi, priests kept meticulous records of weather patterns, matching them to the king's moods. A sudden storm, perhaps Ao Guang was punishing a rival's encroachment. A gentle drizzle, a sign of his contentment. The cleverest temples even played matchmaker. During the Ming Dynasty, one shrine staged marriages between Dragon King statues from warring regions, symbolizing truces. It was theater, but it worked. Crops flourished after the ceremonies. Yet not all conflicts had happy endings. A Chengdu chronicle recounts how Ao Shun of the North Sea, enraged by stolen offerings, unleashed hailstorms that shattered temple roofs. The lesson: even divine bureaucrats had tempers, but this unpredictability made them relatable. Farmers didn't just fear the Dragon Kings, they respected their flaws, much like unruly nobles. Today, echoes of these weather wars linger. In rural Anhui, elders still blame unseasonal rains on dragon arguments, while coastal towns retain festivals where mock battles between dragon boats symbolize the king's tussles. It's a reminder that in Chinese mythology, even the heavens weren't serene. The Dragon King's rivalries mirrored human struggles for resources, honor, and balance. And just as humans sought their favor, the dragons, in their fiery way, needed us too. Without worship, even a god's power could wane, but dragons didn't just bring chaos. Our next legend reveals how their most unexpected gifts, like a single glowing pearl, could transform mortal lives overnight. But beyond the storms and struggles, dragons also held a softer side, weaving miracles into the lives of those they favored. Consider the legendary dragon pearl, a radiant orb often clutched in their claws or floating beneath their chins. Far more than a mere jewel, this was a symbol of boundless generosity. One tale from Jiangxi tells of a poor farmer who rescued an injured serpent only to discover it was a dragon in disguise. In gratitude, the creature gifted him a pearl that glowed like the moon. At first, the farmer used it sparingly, lighting his home at night. But when famine struck, the pearl multiplied his rice stores tenfold, saving his village. Yet there was a catch. The pearl's magic faded if used selfishly. When a greedy merchant stole it, the glow dimmed to ash, leaving him with nothing. The lesson. Dragons rewarded humility, not greed. Even their wrath had purpose. In Shandong, drought-stricken villagers once stumbled upon a cave where a dragon guarded a spring. Instead of hoarding the water, it taught them to dig canals, whispering secrets of irrigation into their dreams. Within months, barren fields turned lush. Historians note this mirrors real agricultural advances along the Yellow River, where dragon myths often overlapped with hydraulic innovation, the most startling gifts. Knowledge, a Ming Dynasty scroll recounts how the dragon King Ao Guang gifted a scholar a jade tablet inscribed with weather patterns. By decoding it, the man predicted floods years in advance, becoming a local hero. Here, dragons weren't just forces of nature, they were mentors, yet their generosity wasn't unconditional. Take the tale of the dragon's debt from Zhejiang. A widow saved a dragon's child from a net, and in return, the creature pledged to fill her well during droughts. But when her grandson broke the vow by polluting the water, the dragon withdrew its blessing. The family's crops withered, a stark reminder that respect sustained these pacts. Modern echoes linger. During Lunar New Year, elders still leave offerings near rivers, hoping for dragon-bestowed prosperity. And in Sichuan, farmers bury dragon stones, carved talismans, to bless their fields, a tradition tracing back to these ancient bargains. Dragons then were neither purely cruel nor kind. Like the rain they commanded, their gifts flowed only where balance was honored. Next, we'll see how these beings straddled two worlds, earth and heaven, through the lens of Buddhism and Taoism. Now, let's turn our gaze to the spiritual realms, where dragons took on divine roles in Buddhism and Taoism. These two traditions embraced celestial dragons, but with fascinating twists that reflected their unique philosophies. In Buddhism, dragons often appeared as Nagas, serpentine beings who guarded treasures and sacred knowledge. One of the most striking tales involves the Naga king Vritra, a dragon-like demon who hoarded the waters of the world, causing drought and despair. Enter Indra, the thunder-wielding god, who shattered Vritra's coils with his Vajra, releasing life-giving rains. This myth wasn't just a battle story. It symbolized the triumph of wisdom over ignorance, a core Buddhist teaching. Yet, not all Nagas were adversaries. Some, like Muchalinda, sheltered the Buddha during a storm, coiling his mighty body around the meditating sage as a living canopy. Here, dragons were both protectors and obstacles, embodying the duality of worldly existence. Taoism, meanwhile, painted dragons as cosmic allies. Legend tells how Laozi, the sage and founder of Taoism, ascended to heaven astride a radiant dragon, his hair streaming like the wind. This image wasn't just grandeur, it represented harmony with the Tao, the natural flow of the universe. Unlike the tempestuous Nagas of Buddhist lore, Taoist dragons were serene guides, their movements mirroring the rhythms of yin and yang. Temples often featured dragon motifs alongside the 8 immortals, symbols of their role in spiritual ascension. What's remarkable is how both religions reshaped dragon myths to fit their teachings. Buddhism, with its focus on overcoming desire, cast dragons as keepers of hidden temptations. A Tibetan sutra warns of Naga palaces filled with gold, splendid yet empty, much like material pursuits. Taoism, emphasizing balance, depicted dragons as mediators between earth and sky. The Dragon Gate allegory, where Carp transformed through perseverance, echoed the Taoist ideal of self-cultivation. Even rituals diverged. Buddhist monks chanted to appease wrathful Nagas during droughts, while Taoist priests performed the dragon dance to summon celestial energy during solstices. Yet both shared a reverence for the dragon's power to bridge realms, whether as a foe to conquer or a mentor to follow. This blending of myth and doctrine shows how dragons transcended mere folklore. They became spiritual metaphors, adapting to the hearts of those who revered them. Next, we'll uncover their playful side, dragons who couldn't resist a little earthly mischief. But even the mightiest celestial dragons sometimes yearned for a taste of mortal life, and their attempts to blend in rarely went smoothly. These shape-shifting escapades became some of the most beloved tales in Chinese folklore, mixing mischief with gentle lessons about pride and disguise. One popular story tells of a young dragon who transformed into a handsome scholar to attend a village lantern festival. All went well until he absent-mindedly brushed his hand through his hair, revealing a shimmering scale behind his ear. The crowd gasped as he scrambled to cover it, knocking over a stall of rice wine in the process. The moment the liquor touched his fingers, his human glamour dissolved entirely, leaving him flustered and dripping in the town square. The moral: even dragons can't resist showing off their true nature when startled. Then there's the cautionary tale of Lady Whitescale, a dragon who fell in love with a fisherman. Taking human form, she married him, but each time she wept, torrential rains flooded their home. Her husband, though devoted, eventually realized the truth when he found her sleepwalking to the riverbank, her feet transforming to claws as she waded into the water. Heartbroken, she confessed, "Dragons can wear human skin but never human hearts." The story endures as a warning about the dangers of hiding one's essence even for love. Not all shape-shifting tales ended tragically. A Ming Dynasty anecdote recounts a traveling merchant who sheltered a frail old man during a storm. The stranger repaid his kindness by predicting rain for the harvest, but only if the merchant planted his fields in zigzag rows. Skeptical, the man humored him and watched as the crops flourished under dragon-shaped rain clouds. The next morning, footprints leading away from his home weren't human at all but clawed, with puddles evaporating instantly in their wake. Here, the dragon's disguise was a gift, proving that wisdom often wears humble disguises. Why did these stories resonate so deeply? Beyond their charm, they reflected cultural anxieties. A Tang-era law even mandated inspecting brides for dragon signs, hidden scales, or an aversion to water, lest they bring supernatural chaos into families. Yet the tales also celebrated wonder. After all, if a dragon could sit beside you at a tea house, who's to say magic wasn't woven into everyday life? Next, we'll ascend to the heavens again, where a silvery lunar dragon waits beside the moon goddess herself. High above the earthly realm of shape-shifting dragons, another celestial being guards the silvery glow of the moon, a creature often overshadowed by its more famous companion. While the tale of Chang, the moon goddess who drank the elixir of immortality, is celebrated during every mid-autumn festival, few remember the luminous dragon coiled beside her in the lunar palace. This ethereal creature, known simply as the moon dragon, embodies the yin essence of the cosmos: cool, reflective, and infinitely patient. Unlike the tempestuous rain dragons or the fiery Azure Dragon of the East, the moon dragon moves in whispers. Ancient texts describe its scales as pale as moonbeams, shifting between opalescent silver and the faintest blue, mirroring the phases of the moon itself. Its breath, it's said, crystallizes into the dew that nourishes midnight blooming flowers, linking it to cycles of renewal. But why does this dragon share Chang's exile in the cold expanse of the moon? One Tang Dynasty scroll offers a clue. The goddess, lonely in her celestial prison, wept until her tears formed a pool. From its depths emerged the dragon, born of her sorrow and the moon's magic, a companion to balance her solitude. The Mid-Autumn Festival holds subtle nods to this forgotten bond. While lanterns and mooncakes dominate the celebrations, traditional dances in southern China sometimes feature a sinuous, silver-painted dragon twining around a figure representing Chang. This performance, called Moon Shadow Serpent, was once believed to ensure harmonious yin-yang energy for the coming harvest. Even the roundness of mooncakes echoes the dragon's coiled form, symbolizing unity and cosmic balance. Scholars of Taoist cosmology see deeper meaning in the pairing. The moon, governed by yin, the passive, feminine principle, finds its guardian in a creature that tempers its coolness with the dragon's inherent yang power. Unlike earthly dragons who command storms, the moon dragon's influence is gentle. It tugs on tides, guides night-blooming plants, and according to folktales, helps lost children find their way home by casting their shadows just a little brighter on moonlit paths. Perhaps the most poignant legend tells of a village that forgot to honor the moon dragon during a festival. That year, the autumn rains never came, and the moon itself seemed dimmer, until a wise elder led a procession to offer sweet osmanthus blossoms by the river. As the petals touched the water, the reflection of the moon rippled, and for an instant, the outline of a dragon appeared within it. The next morning, the fields were drenched in dew, and the lesson was clear: even the quietest celestial beings deserve remembrance. As we turn from the moon's quiet guardian, our next legend plunges us back into the terrestrial realm, where rivers and mountains pulse with the energy of slumbering dragon veins. Shifting our gaze from the moon's serene guardian to the earth itself, we uncover a landscape alive with hidden power, where rivers carve paths like mighty dragons and mountains rise like spines along their backs. This is the realm of sacred geography, where ancient Chinese cosmology saw not just land and water, but pulsing dragon veins connecting heaven and earth. The Yangtze River, China's longest waterway, was believed to be the spine of the East celestial dragon, its currents carrying the creature's life force. Feng Shui masters revered such rivers as arteries of Kai, the vital energy that nourished kingdoms and dictated fortunes. A bend in the river might mark where the dragon curled to rest, while rapids signaled its playful surges. Villages built near these bends were said to thrive under the dragon's protection, but disturbing its flows, say, by damming or redirecting its waters, risked calamity. One Ming Dynasty chronicle tells of a village that dug a canal to shortcut a river bend, only to suffer years of floods until geomancers restored the original path, with offerings of jade and silk to appease the wounded dragon. Mountains held even greater mystique. The Kunlun Range, often called the ancestor of all dragon veins, was thought to channel celestial energy downward like a cosmic ladder. Emperors sent expeditions to identify smaller branch veins where palaces or tombs could harness this power. The Forbidden City itself was carefully aligned along Beijing's central dragon vein, with its throne positioned directly over the energy node. According to legend, when the Yongle Emperor chose the site, geomancers buried a dragon pill, a potent mix of cinnabar and gold, beneath the future throne hall to anchor the dynasty's legitimacy. But dragon veins weren't just passive channels, they could be awakened or diverted through human intervention. A famous Tang-era tale describes a geomancer who saved a drought-stricken region by identifying a sleeping dragon vein beneath a dried-up lake. After directing villagers to dig 9 wells in a spiral pattern mirroring a dragon's coiled form, water miraculously returned. Conversely, there were dire warnings about severing veins. During the Qing dynasty, rebels reportedly tried to weaken the emperor by cutting trenches across sacred mountains, symbolically beheading the dragon. Within a year, earthquakes and landslides plagued the area seen as the dragon's wrath. Even today, these beliefs persist subtly. Modern skyscrapers in Hong Kong and Shanghai often incorporate Feng Shui designs to harmonize with dragon veins, while high-speed rail routes sometimes detour to avoid piercing critical energy lines. As we'll see next, not all interactions with dragons were so reverent some dared to speak their names with stormy consequences. Now we turn from the silent power of dragon veins to the spoken word, where names held the power to summon or tame the skies themselves. In coastal villages and river towns across ancient China, fishermen and farmers lived by an unspoken rule: never call a dragon by its true name. To do so was to risk its wrath, unleashing sudden storms or rogue waves. Instead, communities developed intricate coded languages to speak of dragons without alerting them, a practice that wove superstition into daily survival. Along the storm-prone coasts of Fujian, fishermen referred to dragons as the old gentlemen of the deep, or long sleeves, believing the creatures might overhear and punish direct address. Sailors painted eyes on their prows not just for guidance, but to convince dragons the boat itself was a living creature, thus avoiding predatory attention. One Qing dynasty account describes a fishing crew surviving a typhoon because their captain whispered only the dragon's bureaucratic title, East Sea Director of Rain, flattering its celestial rank while avoiding its personal name. The taboo extended inland. River traders navigating the Yangtze used riddles like the coiled one beneath the bridge, instead of naming the water dragons believed to lurk near rapids. During droughts, villagers might beg a dragon for rain, but they'd address it as Venerable Cloud Shepherd rather than Yinglong or another legendary name. Even children's games reflected this caution. A popular jump rope rhyme warned, "Skip the stones, don't wake the bones, / the name dragon never leaves you alone." Some dialects took it further. In Guangdong's Pearl River Delta, the word for dragon, Chinese letter long, was replaced with big snake or heavenly horse during monsoon season. Fishermen's logbooks from the Ming Dynasty show creative substitutions. A sighting might be recorded as "met the silver whiskers today," or "the ridgeback paid a visit." This linguistic dance had real stakes. In 1703, a Zhejiang chronicle blamed a devastating flood on a merchant who drunkenly shouted a dragon king's full name at a dockside tavern. Yet these taboos weren't universal. Imperial astrologers and Taoist priests often invoked dragon names during rituals, believing precise language could compel their aid. The difference lay in hierarchy. Just as a peasant wouldn't casually address an emperor, commoners avoided names that cosmic bureaucrats might consider disrespectful. This delicate balance of fear and reverence lingers today. Even now, some elderly fishers along the Yellow Sea won't say "dragon" aloud at mealtime, tapping their bowls twice, instead a silent toast to the powers beneath the waves. Moving beyond whispered names and coded language, let's uncover how dragons left tangible marks on history, not just in myths, but in the very earth and sky. Ancient Chinese apothecaries prized dragon bones as potent cures, grinding fossils into powders said to soothe pain or revive the dying. Farmers plowing fields along the Yellow River often unearthed these massive, strange bones, believing them to be remnants of celestial dragons that had fallen to earth. By the Tang Dynasty, pharmacies stocked these relics, prescribing them for everything from fever to childbirth. A Ming Dynasty medical text even boasted that dragon bone tea could mend shattered bones in 3 dawns. But here's the twist: many were actually dinosaur fossils, their true nature unknown until modern paleontology emerged. The most coveted were thunder dragon bones, fossils with unusual markings believed to be lightning scars from heavenly battles. Emperors hoarded them as imperial treasures. One Song Dynasty ruler allegedly wore a fossilized tooth as a pendant to ward off betrayal. Yet not all dragon bones brought blessings. Local tales warned of cursed vertebrae, fossils that caused droughts if disturbed. In Shaanxi province, villagers reburied a giant femur with offerings after their wells mysteriously dried up, only to see rains return within days. This blend of medicine and mysticism persisted for centuries. Even today, some traditional pharmacies still use a long gu dragon bone in remedies, though modern regulations now require substitutes. But dragons didn't just hide in the ground, they blazed across the heavens as omens. When a comet streaked through the night sky in 234 BC, court astrologers declared it the flaming pearl of the Azure Dragon, signaling the Qin dynasty's rise. Eclipses, too, were interpreted as celestial dragons swallowing the sun or moon, a belief that led to frantic drum-beating rituals to scare them away. The Tang Imperial archives record a total solar eclipse in 628 AD, where astronomers reported a black dragon coiled around the sun just before rebels attempted to overthrow Emperor Taizong. Perhaps the most dramatic omen occurred in 1399, when a meteor shower coincided with the Jianwen Emperor's mysterious disappearance. His uncle, the Yongle Emperor, claimed that dragon stars had heralded his rightful ascent, a narrative etched into palace walls alongside carvings of dragons riding comets. These cosmic events weren't just superstition, they shaped politics. The Yuan dynasty fell after astrologers blamed its collapse on a wounded dragon comet, while Ming rebels timed their uprising to a blood moon described as the Crimson Dragon's Eye. From fossilized medicine to celestial fireworks, dragons bridged the earthly and the divine, their power etched into bones and written in the stars. Next, we'll witness how these myths collided with history itself, as the last Imperial dragon became an omen of dynastic collapse. Now, as the tides of both myth and history converge, we arrive at one of the most poignant dragon legends, a tale where celestial omens and imperial downfall intertwine. The Qing dynasty, China's last imperial reign, met its twilight amid whispers of a dragon's farewell. In the late 19th century, as foreign powers encroached and rebellion simmered, a startling account emerged from the Forbidden City. Court officials reported sightings of a spectral dragon coiled over the palace rooftops, its scales dull as tarnished bronze. To the superstitious king rulers, this was no mere spectacle, it was a dire portent. Ancient texts like the Classic of Mountains and Seas had long warned that a fading dragon's glow signaled the withdrawal of the mandate of heaven, the divine right to rule. Emperor Guangxu's astrologers trembled, interpreting the vision as a celestial verdict. The king's 3-century reign was nearing its end. The legend deepened in 1911, the year revolution toppled the dynasty. Fishermen near Tianjin swore they saw a wounded dragon plunge into the high river, its blood staining the waters crimson for days. This eerie phenomenon coincided with the abdication of the child Emperor Puyi, whose departure was framed by rebels as the dragon returning to the cosmos. Even the timing seemed scripted by myth. The king collapse unfolded in the year of the metal pig, an inauspicious zodiac sign associated with upheaval. But the most haunting detail lies in the parallels between legend and reality. The king emperors had always tied their legitimacy to dragon symbolism. The imperial robe, embroidered with 9 5-clawed dragons, was believed to channel their power. When the dynasty crumbled, so too did this sacred imagery. Revolutionaries burned dragon flags and smashed palace carvings, erasing the very icons that had underpinned imperial authority for millennia. Yet the last dragon's prophecy didn't merely echo ancient superstitions. It reflected a profound cultural truth. In China, dragons were never just creatures. They were barometers of destiny. Just as the Ming dynasty had risen under a comet's dragon fire, the king fell beneath a fading serpent's shadow, closing a celestial cycle as old as Chinese civilization itself. As we turn now to the final legend, we'll see how these myths, far from fading into history, have found vibrant new life in our modern world, where dragons no longer herald emperors but endure as symbols of resilience and reinvention. Now let's witness how the ancient whispers of celestial dragons have found a thrilling new voice in the modern world. Far from fading into history, these myths have evolved, merging with pop culture to inspire films, festivals, and even fashion. Take Disney's Mulan, for example. The animated classic and its live-action remake brought the Imperial dragon Mushu to global audiences, a cheeky, pint-sized guardian who, despite his comedic flair, embodied the dragon's traditional role as a protector. While purists debated his departure from majestic portrayals, Mushu's popularity revealed something profound. Dragons could adapt without losing their cultural soul. Lunar New Year celebrations offer another vibrant stage for reinvention. From Hong Kong to San Francisco, dragon dances electrify streets, their synchronized undulations symbolizing luck and renewal. But notice the modern twists: LED-lit scales, drone-assisted performances, even TikTok challenges where dancers reinterpret traditional moves. These innovations aren't diluting tradition, they're ensuring its survival. When a teenager in Berlin learns the dragon dance via YouTube, or when a fusion band blends electronic beats with ancient drum patterns for the parade, the myth breathes anew. Even fashion and gaming have become unexpected allies. Designers like Yuo weave dragon motifs into haute couture gowns, their golden threads echoing imperial robes but tailored for runway glamour. Meanwhile, video games like Genshin Impact introduce characters like the Adeptus Zhongli, whose dragon form pays homage to Yinglong's rain summoning might, proving that interactivity can deepen mythic engagement. Players don't just hear about dragons, they command their power. Yet the most poignant reinterpretations emerge from grassroots creativity. In post-earthquake Sichuan, survivors crafted a dragon from rubble and scrap metal, turning tragedy into a symbol of resilience. And when climate activists in Taiwan parade a giant recycled plastic dragon, they reclaim the creature's ancient role as an ecological balancer, a reminder that dragons once governed rivers and rains. This is the magic of modern retellings. They honor the past while forging fresh meaning. Whether through a child's awe at a parade or a gamer's thrill at wielding dragon abilities, these stories bridge millennia. The celestial dragons no longer serve emperors, but they still ignite imagination, proof that some legends are too powerful to fade. Now let's take a step beyond China's borders and see how these celestial dragons stack up against their legendary counterparts from other cultures. At first glance, dragons might seem universal, serpentine, powerful, often tied to water or storms, but dig deeper, and the differences are as striking as the similarities. Take the dragons of European folklore, for example. While Chinese dragons are revered as divine bringers of rain and symbols of imperial authority, their Western cousins are often depicted as fire-breathing hoarders, lurking in caves and demanding virgin sacrifices. Think of Beowulf's battle with the treasure-guarding worm or St. George slaying the maiden-threatening beast. These dragons embody chaos, a force to be conquered rather than collaborated with. Even in modern tales like Game of Thrones, where dragons are tools of conquest, their allegiance hinges on domination, not harmony. Mesoamerican serpent deities like the Aztec Quetzalcoatl or the Maya Kukulkan offer a closer parallel. These feathered serpents were creators and bringers of knowledge, much like China's dragon-linked Fuxi and Nüwa. Yet there's a key distinction, where Quetzalcoatl blends avian and reptilian traits to symbolize sky and earth. Chinese dragons remain resolutely terrestrial and aquatic, their power rooted in rivers and seasonal rains. And while both are benevolent, Chinese dragons carry a uniquely bureaucratic flavor. Think of the Dragon Kings filing reports to the Jade Emperor like celestial civil servants. Then there's the Japanese Ryu, which borrowed heavily from Chinese lore but added local twists. Where Chinese dragons are wingless, soaring on clouds, Japanese dragons sometimes feature wings or multiple claws, reflecting their distinct mythology. Yet both share that core role as water deities, balancing nature's forces. Compare this to India's Nagas, serpentine beings who guard treasures but lack the Chinese dragon's cosmic authority. They're more like mystical custodians than weather-regulating officials. What truly sets Chinese dragons apart is their duality. They're both awe-inspiring and approachable, feared yet prayed to. A European dragon might raise a village, but a Chinese dragon's wrath is usually a corrective measure, punishing corruption or neglect of rituals. Even their bureaucracy reflects this balance. While Zeus hurls lightning bolts on a whim, the Dragon Kings operate under heavenly protocols, their reign-giving duties bound by cosmic order. So next time you see a dragon in global media, ask, Is it a monster to slay, a god to worship, or a bureaucrat filing rain reports? The answer reveals not just cultural contrasts, but why China's celestial dragons remain in a league of their own. Now let's peel back the layers of myth to uncover the fascinating scientific possibilities that may have shaped these ancient dragon legends. While the celestial dragons of China hold profound cultural and spiritual significance, their origins might be rooted in the natural world, observed and immortalized through the lens of human imagination. Consider the discovery of dinosaur fossils scattered across China's vast landscapes. To ancient people unearthing these massive bones, the idea of towering, serpentine creatures wouldn't have been far-fetched. In places like the Gobi Desert, where protoceratops skulls with sharp beaks and frills resemble mythical beasts, it's easy to see how dragon bones became part of medicine and lore. Even today, traditional pharmacies sell fossilized bones as remedies, a practice echoing ancient beliefs in their mystical power. Then there's the spectacle of rainbows, those shimmering arcs often appearing after storms. In Chinese cosmology, rainbows were sometimes called dragon bridges, fleeting pathways between heaven and earth. The way a rainbow bends and vanishes could mirror a dragon's sinuous, elusive nature, particularly since dragons were linked to rain and celestial phenomena. This connection isn't unique to China. Norse myths also saw rainbows as bridges to the divine, showing how universal awe of nature's beauty fuels legend. Water-dwelling creatures like crocodiles and giant snakes may have further cemented dragon imagery. The Yangtze alligator, with its armored scales and lurking presence, could easily inspire tales of river dragons. Ancient texts describe dragons as both reptilian and fish-like, blending traits of real animals into something grander. Even the dragon's rhythmic association with floods and droughts aligns with the erratic behavior of rivers, unpredictable, life-giving, and occasionally destructive. Yet it's crucial to note that these scientific roots don't lessen the dragon's cultural weight. Instead, they highlight how brilliantly humans weave observation into meaning. The dragon isn't just a mistaken fossil or a misread reptile. It's a symbol of nature's untamable power, shaped by generations of storytelling. Whether emerging from bones, rain, or rivers, these legends endure because they speak to something deeper, our need to explain, revere, and ultimately coexist with the forces around us. As we unravel these threads, remember, mythology isn't just about what's real, but what resonates. The dragon's flight through history is a testament to humanity's endless curiosity, bridging the tangible and the transcendent. Beyond their ancient roots, dragon legends continue to pulse with relevance in our modern world. Think of the dragon dances that erupt in cities after natural disasters, flames of silk and bamboo weaving through streets, their rhythmic movements symbolizing collective strength. These performances aren't merely tradition, they're acts of resilience, channeling the dragon's power to uplift communities. In post-earthquake Sichuan or typhoon-ravaged Fujian, the dragon's return to public squares signals hope, a reminder that even in devastation, life surges forward. The dragon's role as a mediator between heaven and earth takes on new urgency in an era of climate crisis. Ancient rituals like pleading for rain at Dragon King temples might seem archaic, but their core message of harmony with nature resonates deeply today. Environmental movements in China increasingly frame sustainability through dragon mythology, portraying rivers as dragon veins needing protection. Activists invoke the legend of Yinglong, the drought-quenching dragon, to advocate for water conservation, blending old wisdom with modern science. Even architecture mirrors this ethos. Shanghai's twisting skyscrapers, nicknamed Dragon Towers, integrate wind-resistant designs inspired by the creature's fluid grace. Globally, the dragon's duality, creator and destroyer, offers a lens to confront ecological challenges. Indigenous groups from Australia to the Amazon share serpentine deities governing weather, underscoring a universal truth: humanity's fate is tied to nature's balance. Modern retellings, like animated films depicting dragons as climate guardians, reframe them not as monsters but as partners in stewardship. This shift mirrors China's own evolving dragon narrative, where once feared stormbringers are now mascots for green energy initiatives. Perhaps most powerfully, these legends endure because they adapt. Lunar New Year parades feature dragons made from recycled materials, while digital artists reimagine them as symbols of AI-powered sustainability. The dragon, ever shape-shifting, teaches us that mythology isn't static. It's a living conversation between past and present. By honoring these stories, we don't just preserve culture, we equip ourselves with metaphors to navigate an uncertain future, where the dragon's wisdom, respect for nature's power, and the resilience to rebuild has never been more vital. From ancient myths to modern resilience, the celestial dragons of Chinese mythology have always danced between creation and chaos, blessing and fury. They shape mountains with a flick of their tails, yet command storms with a single breath, embodying nature's untamable duality. These legends remind us that power, like the dragon's pearl, holds both radiance and risk, nurturing life or unleashing devastation, depending on how humanity honors the balance. Think back to their stories, the Azure Dragon painting spring across the land, while the Dragon Kings warred in the skies, flooding villages. Yinglong's wings brought life-giving rain, yet forgotten dragons cursed the earth with drought. Even the Carp's triumphant leap to dragonhood carries a warning: ascension demands sacrifice. This paradox isn't just myth, it's a mirror to our world where technology heals or harms and progress walks hand in hand with peril. Now we turn to you. Which of these 25 legends resonated most? Was it Zhulong, whose blinking eyes birthed day and night, or the moon dragon whispering secrets to Chang? Share your favorites in the comments. Weaving your voice into this living tapestry keeps the dragons breathing fire into new generations. And as we close, remember the proverb, water can carry a boat but also capsize it. Like the dragon's river, wisdom flows both ways, so stay curious, stay bold, and may your own journey mirror the dragons undaunted by storms, ever reaching for the pearl. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to keep exploring mythology's deepest wonders together. Until next time, let the dragons guide you.